Hey guys, and welcome to a new entitled parents video. I hope you enjoy. Sit back, relax. Stop sending your kid over. I am not a babysitter. At first, I wasn't sure if this was an entitled parent story because I think this woman is just plain crazy. But after reading a few of these, I figured out that crazy and entitled are one and the same. Years ago, this new neighbor of mine, she had recently moved to a house on the next street over, kept trying for the better part of a summer to use me as a free babysitter. It started when her kid, who was really cute, well-behaved kid, about 7 years old, showed up at my door at 7:15 in the morning. We were all just waking up and getting around, so I told him that my boys weren't ready to play yet and to come back in a few hours. That is when the kid told me that his mom had gone to work. This seemed a bit odd to me, so I brought him in and tried to call his mom. This was the time of only landlines. Sure enough, she was gone. So I brought him in and fed him breakfast. He stayed with us for the rest of the day, and he got along well with my two boys, who were 5 and 10. I had only talked to his mom about 2 times, so I had no idea why she would think this was a good idea. When his mom came home, I walked him over so I could talk to her. I told her not to do that again. I told her that I would be willing to watch him on occasion if she asked first, but not every day. Her response was, "Well, what else do you have to do all day?" This kind of took me by surprise. I tried to tell her that I work at home on commissions. She rolled her eyes and told me that being an artist isn't a real job. And besides, I was married, so I didn't need to work. I should have pointed out to her that she was married and working, but I felt myself getting angry and didn't want to argue with her. "Just don't do that again," I said to her. "You have teenage kids home for the summer. Have them babysit." She frowned at me and said, "They work." I said, "So do I." Then I went home. The next morning at 7:15, the kid sheepishly shows up again. Once again, I bring him in and feed him breakfast and later lunch. Once again, I took him to his home and once again told his mother to please not do that again. She actually tried to tell me that it was my neighborly duty to watch him, and I told her that if she sent him tomorrow, I wouldn't be there because of a doctor's appointment. She said that as a babysitter, I should have given her several days' notice about this. I angrily told her I was not a babysitter, and then went home. The next morning, I made my 7 a.m. appointment. Blood work, that is why it was so early. I did some grocery shopping afterwards, and it was about 10 a.m. when I got home. The poor kid was waiting for me on my porch. He had been there for nearly 3 hours, and the little guy was scared and hungry. That night, when I took the kid home, I was angry. I told her how the kid was scared and alone. She actually said that she had told me I hadn't given her enough time to find anyone else, and that his being alone was my fault. I pointed at her and said, "I am not a babysitter. Do not send him over again." That night, this woman had her adult nephew call me to scream at me for not being home when this poor aunt dropped off her son. How dare I leave a small child alone like that? I told the nephew that his aunt knew I wasn't home, so it was her that left the child all alone. I said that I had repeatedly asked his aunt not to send the kid over anymore, and I was not a babysitter. This nephew freaked out at me when I said that, and I hung up on him screaming at me. This worked for 2 wonderful quiet days, then right back to it. I tried everything, but this woman insisted that it was my neighborly duty to babysit. It would tell me as much. Finally, I decided that to solve this problem, I would just get a job outside of my home. That way, she would have to stop. I was too much of a pacifist back then. I no longer am. I landed an interview for a position at the local library, and I was ecstatic. I told the woman to keep her son home because I had arranged for my kids to stay with their grandmother while I went to this interview. The next morning, I drove to my mother-in-law's house and took my kids inside. When I went to leave, I found this woman's kid waiting for me in my car. She had actually followed me there and put her son in my unlocked car, then zoomed off while I was dropping off my boys. My mother-in-law wasn't the most flexible person in the world, and she adamantly refused to watch an extra kid. I had to cancel my interview. I was livid. I toyed with several ideas at this moment. I could take the kid to her job and leave him with her, or I could call the police and Child Protective Services. I really wasn't sure how stable this woman's job was. I didn't want to get her fired. When I went to go call the CPS, I chickened out because it really wouldn't be fair to the little boy. Besides, I had heard really scary stories about Child Protective Services. In the end, I just waited for her to come home. I left the boy at my house with my hubby. I planned on doing a lot of cussing, and stomped over to her house and met her before she even got out of her car. I shouted at her. I told her she was dense, stupid, moronic, and crazy. I told her that she had lost me my job interview and she sent her kid over to be watched again. I was going to call Child Protective Services and the police. I told her that she was violating my space, and if it took going to court to get her to knock it off, then so be it. She then put her hand on her hip, and in the most snotty tone she said, "Well, if you didn't want to sit with him, all you had to do was tell me." I really do not know how I kept from punching her right then and there. This comment was so assassinate. I turned on my heels to start stomping home when I saw her husband pulling up. Now, this was the first time I had ever met her husband. He worked at a job that only allowed him to be home on the weekends. I can't blame him. I wouldn't want to be around her either. But when she saw him, she turned tail and ran into her house. He saw that I was upset and asked me what had happened. I told him all of it, especially the incident at my mother-in-law's. The poor man was shocked. He had been told that I was being paid and that he had been giving her money to pay me. He had no idea all of this was going on, and he was very, very apologetic over this whole thing. In fact, he apologized again to my husband when he came over to pick up his little boy. Finally, she had stopped sending her kid over. Later, I heard from others that she was bad-mouthing me and warning folks about what a horrid babysitter I was. But I took that as a favor. I didn't want to babysit any kids other than my own, and I still hate doing so. I don't hate the kids, I love the kids. It's staying with the parents that I don't like. The kid came over only once in a while after that to play with my kids, after he called to get permission. Exactly the way it should be done. I'm sure his dad had something to do with that because the kid only came over on the weekends. This is one of the few stories I have involving this crazy lady. Her only entertainment in life seems to be seeing how bizarre she can act in this neighborhood. I'm luckier than my other neighbors in the fact that she leaves me alone now. I'm very happy with that. But yeah, guys, this is kind of just absolutely ridiculous. Like, you can just hire a babysitter. Her husband was even giving her money to hire a babysitter, but instead she just tried to dump it off as on her neighbor and pass it on as neighborly duties. But anyways, on to the next one. Make the Nazis less horrible for my daughter. You know the deal, not my first language, plus I'm on mobile, so sorry in advance. It's a short one. So I'm from Germany, and we have some NS museums in different places to remind us of the horror and inform visitors of what happened in the specific area of Germany they're visiting. I was visiting one when I heard a child cry. Not a baby that didn't know better, but a toddler. It sounded genuinely upset. Enter, entitled Mom. I hear her loudly complain about a video and how it isn't child-friendly at all. Now, first of all, in these museums, it's fucking quiet. Second of all, they are not supposed to be child-friendly. They show raw, horrible pictures that show a brutal truth, and most adults are left speechless. It can turn your stomach sometimes. Employee, I'm really sorry it upsets her. This museum is suggested for ages 14 and up. Entitled Mother, how is she supposed to learn? Now that kid was 3 max. You can maybe talk to them about it, but these museums are clearly not for kids. It even says so on the website. Now I'm already invested in this when the mom goes on about how they should have censored that. I turn around to see what they were talking about and my heart sinks. It's a video of piles of dead, starved, naked bodies they found in concentration camps. It's a horrifying thing to look at. And this lady complained about some genitalia being shown. I'm pretty sure that kid was trying about the overall visuals and not some dicks. The employee looked shocked, and she has clearly never heard that complaint before. She confusedly offered to refund their tickets, and the lady angrily agreed. Some people. This is obviously just ridiculous. Things are clearly labeled. It says clearly on the website that it's not for kids, and that it's recommended for kids ages 14 and up, yet the woman still brings her child in, and then gets angry when the child gets upset? On to the next one. Kid pulls a knife out and threatens me, then goes crying to her mother when he can't hurt me. A few things first. Number 1. This is my first post on here. Number 2, I'm Finnish. English isn't exactly my first language. And number 3, formatting, never heard of it. Anyways, onto the story, I guess. Edit, there's a typo in the title. It's supposed to say his instead of her. So to clarify, entitled kid is a boy. The main leader slash master slash whatever you want to call them is a woman. So this happened like 9 to 10 years ago when I was 7 or 8. I was a scout back then, and I was part of a group which was, for the most part, filled with friends and people I knew. I was popular because back then I was social and easygoing. I was always friends with everyone was friends with me and everyone else. But as always, there was one exception to this. In all honesty, entitled kid was a goddamn dumbass. He would yell, he would fight, he would make others cry. He did what he wanted. Back then, I thought he was special ed, and that's why I tried to be friends with him, but nope. Later in life, when we went to the same high school, I learned that he was just dumb. Like I said, that kid was a dumbass, would always be trying to get into fights with everyone. People were sick of it. And in time, so was I. I don't remember clearly what the bastard did to deserve shouting from me. He was probably harassing girls or hitting boys, but I fucking flipped on him. Now at this time, he didn't take out his knife or begin to cry. Instead, he just stopped shouting and stopped whatever the hell he was doing. For the rest of the day, he would just sit at the back of our cabin and stare at me, menacingly. So let's skip a week ahead of time. It was the next scout session. I don't know what else to call it. Things were going well. We were doing something time-consuming, so everyone's attention was at the thing that they were doing, whatever that was. Entitled kid, of course, wasn't doing anything, and instead he decided it was better to run around the cabin. Scoutmaster slash leader tried her best to stop the madness, but that only fueled entitled kid's rampage. While on his rampage, it didn't take long for him to find the door to the log cabin that was next to the main cabin. When he did, well, shit hit the fan. Hard. I was sitting next to the cabin. I could hear everything he did, and said there clearly. Entitled kid. Oh my. He started whispering from the log cabin. Entitled kid. Hey, Joel. Me. Come here for a second. At first I thought, what the hell is he doing now? Soon I became curious. He wouldn't stop whispering, and I kinda wanted to know what the bugger had found. So, like stupid goddamn kid I was, I went there. Me? Yeah, what is it? Entitled kid. I got something to show you. After a bit of searching, I found it in the back of the cabin. Now at this time, I thought he was going to apologize for being a dick to everyone, and was quite ecstatic. I knew this would be a story I would milk the shit out of, something to brag to my friends about. So I was so intimidated that he apologized to me. Well, I got a story out of it, but not the one I was hoping. Me, what you got there, buddy? His back turned against me, and I didn't see what he was hiding or doing. After I asked him what he was doing, he just turned around. Titled kid, you see this, Joel? I couldn't see what he had in his hand, but I saw his twisted grin. Me, I can't see it. Could you bring it closer? Entitled kid, sure. And now I saw it, a dull, red-handled knife. Titled kid, do you see it now, Joel? At this point, I said something along the lines of, oh shit, or what the fuck, and booked it out of there, with the fucker laughing menacingly behind me. I ran out of the log cabin into the main cabin and tripped. This diverted the leader's attention, who noticed that entitled kid was gone and that I was on the cabin floor panicking. Leader, L. What's wrong, Joel? Where's entitled kid? Me. It's entitled kid, that wanker got a knife. Yep, I said wanker. That one I remember vividly. Leader, what? Me. He's trying to gut me. It took a moment for the leader to realize what was happening. When she did, she ran into the log cabin fuming. My friends came closer and asked me what had happened before, but before I can answer them, I heard the leader scream at entitled kid. Leader, what makes you think it's okay to threaten someone with a knife? Entitled kid, I was just showing it. Leader, what makes you think you have any right to hold one without a supervisor? You could have not only hurt yourself, but you could have hurt Joel. Titled kid, I swear, Leader, get out of here. Go outside and wait for your mom to come pick you up. She then came back into the main cabin and told one of the other leaders to look after us. Then she went outside with entitled kid and waited for the mother to come pick the little devil up. Now, according to what I had heard the leader tell the others after the incident, the mother was fucking furious. Complete and utter entitled mother, who tried to tell the leader that I was probably the aggressor, that I was some goddamn son of a bitch. At the time, I laughed at this with my friends, but had I known she would come for me the next week, I wouldn't have been laughing. In order for you guys to understand better where me and my friends were when this happened, here is the main cabin. Now, a week after the incident, me and my friends were on the top of the bridge you can see in front of the building. We were fucking around, doing dumb stuff, playing tag, stuff like that, when suddenly, Entitled Mother shows up. The conversation goes something like this. Entitled Mother, which one of you is Joel? Me. Here, ma'am. Entitled Mother, you're the one who bullied my darling. Me. What? I then noticed Entitled Kid in the backseat bawling his eyes out. Me. Oh, you're Entitled Kid's mom. Yeah, he tried to slice me with a knife. Entitled Mother, he would never. She then went on to list some positive things about him, which seemed pretty bullshit to me and my friends. He's a gentleman, yet he harasses little girls. He's great at school, yet you couldn't be bothered to pay attention for a single second. That, and he was an F and D student in high school, so he's got more friends than any of you, yet he somehow became an outcast in our scat group. I honestly got bored at her rambling and went back to playing with my friends. Some of them kept shouting at her, others ignored her. One of my friends, a girl I had known since kindergarten, started straight up roasting this 30-year-old woman. I can't remember what she shouted, but I remember EM's reaction. Shut up, you bitch, this ain't none of your business. Now this didn't stop my friend. In fact, it fueled her rage even more. Knowing what kind of woman her mother was, this didn't surprise me one bit. As time went on, one of the leaders noticed the commotion and checked what's going on. Titled Mother noticed this and got us out of there fast. After the leader asked us what had happened, and we told him, he went and told the main leader that she was furious. She went and straight up banned Entitled Kid, a ban which was just lifted 3 years ago in 2016 when Entitled Kid wanted to come back into the scout group. My career as a scout had already come to an end in 2011, so it didn't bother me. Till I started again in the autumn of 2016, had to cope with the dumbass again. Now, this is typical with every single entitled parent, where they seem to think that their kid's a little angel who would do nothing wrong, and it's honestly just so annoying seeing entitled parent stories like this every single day.